The Gemara in Sota also goes into great deal in general on the mitzvah of Birkas Kohanim. So one of the many statements the Gemara makes regarding Birkas Kohanim, the Gemara says a Kohen who does not go up to Duchen, he violates, is Mavato 3 mitzvahs aseh. He doesn't really Mavato. It's not really Kol Sivarchu, Mor Lahem, and then Visamti or Shachat, then the rest of the pasuk. The Gemara quotes from the difference. It's really one pasuk or a couple of psukim. They quote really. He doesn't really violate 3, but that's the lashon haGemara. That if he's called up and doesn't go, he's mavato as mitzvahs aseh. And the Rosh Megillah qualifies the Gemara and says, when does he violate? When is he mavato a mitzvahs aseh? That's only if he gets called up and doesn't go, like the minhag in Eretz Yisrael, the minhag among Sfardim. If you call up Kohanim, you call him up, and he doesn't come. An Ashkenaz Kohen in a Sephardi minyan, whatever the case is, or even someone calls out an Ashkenaz minyan by mistake, then that's when you violate. That's how some explain. Our minhag of the Ramah. The Ramah writes, Tov Leiv Hu Mavarach. That our minhag is that we only do Birkas Kohanim on the Sholosh Regolim, on Yom Tovim. In Eretz Yisrael, we do it every day. It's not a mitzvah satuyas ba'aretz. It's not Shemitah. It's not Shuma Maisa. Why should there be a difference? In fact, the Beis Yosef says there shouldn't be a difference. So
it should not be.
Right, there shouldn't be. In fact, that's the minhag of the Sfard. So the Ramah writes, he only gives you Tov Leiv Hu Mavarach. You have to be besimcha when you do the mitzvah. So he only gives us half the story. So what? You only have to be besimcha. You have to be besimcha in a lot of mitzvahs, and if that was a prerequisite, we'd be dropping a lot of things. So he's basing himself on this rush. He's making the assumption of the rush. The only time you have a chiyuv of Birkas Kohanim and Yemavatil and mitzvahs aseh is if you're called up and don't go. But the Ramah is saying the minhag Ashkenaz, it's not, it's unclear why it developed. In fact, great Gedolim like the Vilna Gaon and Rav Chaim Volozhin try to reinstitute it. The Aruch HaShulchan gives us a teaser about terrible, the day before the Grove was going to do it, he got put in jail. The day before Rav Chaim Volozhin wanted to do it, they had a big fire in town, they never saw her. And they basically took it as a Sibba Min HaShamayim that in Chutz La'aretz for some reason they're not going to do it. But Al Pi Halacha it's difficult to explain why. And so the Ramah writes, Tov Leiv Hu Mavarach, so working with the Rush, our minhag is we don't call them up. So therefore, once you get called up, so even the Ramah agrees, if the shul called up the Kohanim, you have a chiyuv to go. But what the Ramah is saying, the minhag is that we wait for Yantiv when we have a chiyuv simcha, and therefore we do al Birkas Kohanim then. Because as long as you don't call up the Kohanim, there's no chiyuv. And therefore, that's how they explain our minhag of Ashkenaz and the minhag of the Ramah. And in fact, Mordechai Megillah even takes it a step further. He says, even if you're not called up, but if you're asked to wash, like to say, let me wash your hands, that's good enough. In other words, as we'll see, the Gemara tells us you have to wash your hands, you have to do the Tila Shodayim before Birkas Kohanim. So if someone requests that you wash their hands, according to the Mordechai Megillah, that's the equivalent of actually them asking you to go up, and he also thinks then one would have a chiyuv. But
nicer, we only call the Kohanim after they're already up there for quite a while. I'm wondering if the Siddur says, Kan Olim HaKohanim L'Duchen,
you want to give
whether that's called calling.
Yeah, you want to give the other people a chance to get out. And we'll see what about a Kohen who doesn't want to go up.
But he has to answer, right? You have to tell him, and more than you have to say to him.
Right. You have.
So if you call him up, but then you don't say to him, now he can't duchen by himself. He's still mevatel 3 assays.
No, wait, that gets in. What do you mean he can't do it? Oh, you mean he can't do it himself?
So the Baal Tefillah says it, calls him up, and he shouldn't have for whatever reason. So he keeps on going. He doesn't go. The Baal Tefillah doesn't go through duchening.
Oh, I mean, yes, and then that way.
Now the guy, you did call him out. So is he
No,
mevatel
it's like
three ases?
no, it's like in that case you're honest. I mean, you can't do it. No, they didn't do. You need the chazan to set you up. In terms of unless I never seen where someone just goes up. Bisman Beis HaMikdash Kayim, they did different things. Shem first, right? But bottom line, in that case, it seems like it'd be out of his control. It's not like he's being vatal.
In other words, so he's not mevatel at that point.
Right? Yeah.
He's mevatel it l'mafreya.
No, I guess at the time.
How's that work?
Yeah, I guess in terms of London, unless we assume it was a call betos, maybe we say Lamafreya, there never was a call. Yeah, because calling them out but not doing it, ultimately that's what your father was getting. Now, until you actually go up, and in terms of that, that's why they.
I'm trying to understand how he's mevatel three. At the time that he got called, he didn't go up. You don't yet know if it was possible for him to do it.
Right, unless
he wasn't mevatel then.
Right, unless it depends on at what point we're considering. We do that the way we do it now is Kohanim, and maybe that the midig might have been different in terms of what. He doesn't actually spell out what exactly is the calling up. So we could say when they're actually up there, and when they tell them maybe to make the bracha or whatever, or maybe that's maybe it'd be a technical. But fundamentally, you're right. It'd just be a technical detail. At what point do we consider it be right? So that's what, and it's codified in Shulchan Aruch. As long as they're not called up, or whatever called up means, as long as they don't have an opportunity, they have an opportunity to do it, and they don't do it, then it's a problem. And in fact, Tosfos disqualifies it more in Rosh Hashanah, in Chav Chesam and Beis. He points out that this is only true also if he hasn't done Birkas Kohanim yet. The chiyuv of a Kohen to do Birkas Kohanim is only once a day, every day. So let's say he already did Birkas Kohanim in the Hashkama minyan, and he's bringing his kids back to shul, he's walking his wife to shul, he walks into shul, he's a Kohen now. So, and now they're about to do duchening again. So strictly speaking, he's allowed to walk out of the shul before whatever the appropriate time is, and he would not be considered being a mevatel of mitzvah. Albeit that's true, the Bir Halacha and the poskim write, they compare it kind of like the mitzvah of tzitzis. In other words, the Gemara says you shouldn't cut off a corner to make it 3 to avoid the mitzvah of, so like we know, like the Gemara was saying, Katina, Gemara in Menachos, Katina tzitzis mataheo of. He says, what do you want? I'm not obligated. So basically the Gemara says, B'shas riska, B'idan riska, when God's steaming, it protects you. It's kind of like a life insurance policy. So that's what the poskim write. Even though it's true, technically speaking, if a Kohen walks out at that time, whatever the appropriate time is, there would not be a problem of a bittul mitzvah. Nevertheless, it's still not appropriate to go out of the room to avoid it. I guess it's similar, it's different, but the same idea. People don't like, some do like, some don't. Sometimes when they're having a simcha, and then you have to, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't have to be a simcha, it could be a yard site, or whatever the case may be, they're giving out aliyahs and that, and then mostly during the week it happens, and then so they tell the Kohen to leave the shul, to go out, because let's say they need 3 aliyahs, and they don't. So that's a discussion. Some poskim are very adamant against you being mevatel a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah of a kiddashto, and you have a chiyuv to give the Kohen. Other poskim are more mekel, b'makam sarach. Some say maybe like during the week you should do it, but not on Shabbos. But the same issue on the other end of here the Kohen's leaving because he doesn't want to do. In this case, we're just sending the Kohen out. So it's both on the reverse ends, but a similar concept. So either way, there's a chiyuv to do Birkas Kohanim, and if your Kohen doesn't go through with it after he's called up, so then he's mavato as mitzvah.
He says you only do it when there's time of simcha. But exactly what does the samachta b'chageh mean? And would it apply on Yom Kippur?
Right. So Well, do we do duchening on Yom Kippur?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we do it. Yeah, so therefore,
And in Frankfurt they did it even for Neila.
yeah, I know that's a whole big discussion, and that you should make sure you finish Ne'ilah, you finish Ne'ilah. That was the issue about finishing Ne'ilah before Chatzot, not Chatzot, before Shkia. The problem is we don't start it. The issue was for Duchening, that they wanted to make sure they got the Birkas Kohanim had to be done, I guess B'yom and not B'layla, so they had to get it in. But the Inyan of Simcha and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, that's the Gemara in Erechin. The Gemara Erechin goes into the different days of the year that you chayev to say Hallel. So the Gemara goes through the 18 days, etc. Then the Gemara says, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur fits the criteria of saying Hallel. It's called the Moed. It's Ikdish Ba'asiyas Malacha, and you have its own karban. So why don't you say Hallel? The Gemara answers, you're right. Enochinami, we should. Well, we could. However, Chazal said it was inappropriate because when you're sitting Efshar, we're sitting different chayim and different mesim. So then you're going to be singing a Hallel. So there's no open simcha. There's not, as the Rambam writes, Einu Yemei Simcha Yisera, in that sense, that you don't go overboard because it's Judgment Day. But there is a Chiyuv Simcha. In fact, and according to the Rav's explanation, certainly Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur might even have a stronger Chiyuv Simcha, not al pi halacha, but in terms because if you assume Simcha is Lufnei Hashem Elokecha, being in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and as the Rambam writes, what separates us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Sin. Every time we do an Aveira, another barrier. So on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we're doing Shuvah, we're taking away the barrier, and we're getting closer. So, we're on a higher level. That's that's why some say the Simchas Torah follows the Yomim Noraim after we've did that Shuvah and now etc. But either way, we assume there is Simcha, and hence there is Birkas, and that's why we do Birkas Kohanim.
Which is also implied when the Gemara says Bishlam Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur.
Tuba, what happened?
What's the Simcha?
Right.
So the implication is that
in fact, not only that, but now Simcha Yisera, the two happiest days of the year the Gemara is talking about, not just Yemei Simcha, but Yemei. It seems to be. So that type, right? I guess obviously. So what the Gemara means in terms of Hallel, so you shouldn't be overly saying Hallel, but obviously Simcha in the spiritual sense, of course, it's a Simcha Yisera, but not in the bus of a Yayin in that type of way.
Well, but doesn't it really just refer to the Korban?
Yeah, that's the Pashtus. That's the Machlokas, the Rambam and the Bali Tosas, whether Simcha Bizman Hazeh is a mitzvah min Torah or a mitzvah midrabanan. The Rambam Shita is Simcha even Bizman Hazeh is Doraisa, and Tosas writes Simcha Bizman Hazeh is Dorabanan. That's the famous Gemara Moed Katan, where the Gemara says there is no Avelis on Yontif. The Gemara says, why not? The Gemara says because the mitzvah, the Simcha, the Rabbim, Simcha beats out the mitzvah, the Yachid of Avelis. So the public mitzvah beats out the private mitzvah. So how do you learn that Gemara? So the Rambam holds Simcha Bisman says Daraisa. So the public biblical mitzvah, and the Rambam Shit is Avelis Yom Rishon is Daraisa. So the way the Rambam learns the Gemara, the public biblical mitzvah of Simchas Yantiv beats out the private biblical mitzvah of Avelis, even Mizman Hazeh. And Tosas says no, as you're saying, it's connected to Karbanos, and therefore we don't have Karbanos today, we don't have the Basar from the Karbanos, and hence Simcha is only Drabanan, and it's Tosas Lashitasan who holds that Avelis also is only Drabanan. So the public rabbinical mitzvah beats out the private rabbinical. So however you learn the Gemara, it's consistent, but that's the Machlokas Tosas and the Rambam. Whether
what is the Gzeret Rabbanon of V'Sumach B'Chagechov? What they guys say? Azus.
No, the Gzeret. You mean the?
You say it's the Rabbanon.
Yeah, no, to the mitzvah today, the mitzvah is really eating from the carbon, the basar from the karbanos.
Yeah.
We don't have that today, so midrabanan, I guess rabbanik ain daraisa tikkun, so we don't have that, but at least we should try to do what we can do. We'll still have a basar and yayin, but it's not on the same level as when we had the Beis HaMikdash. But it's just a takana d'rabbanan ain daraisa.
So what is it? The Sanafto means you should be happy?
According to Tosas Samachta, that's linked to the Karbanos, to the Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, we don't have it. So Minatorah, there is no mitzvah simcha. Midrabanan, they said we should do things on Yantiv, wherever do things to try to be besimcha. We know the mood. We know that from our great Gedolim, even going back to Yitzchak. We know what did Yitzchak before he wanted to give the bracha to Esav or Yaakov, depends which Mefarshim you take, whether he knew or he didn't know, whether he always wanted to give it to Yaakov or whatever the case may be. But what did he ask him to do? He said, go get me a nice piece of meat, get me some ribs, some steak, because we know that you have a nice piece of meat, that brings you to the simcha. Or even Elisha said, Kukuli minagin, get the music working. We all know the impact of music. The music makes us, so lights, music, food, so different things create a mood. So Chazal obviously wanted to create a mood. So at least even if Minatorah you can't have it, it's still a joyous day, even though maybe technically the mitzvah of simcha might only be d'rabbanan, but that wouldn't change it.
So that's a strange thing to make a if the simcha is it a result or a result or a cause of the korban, according to Tosfos?
Right, according to the Rambam, the two totally according to the Rav or the Rambam is that there's two different aspects. There's a mitzvah of simcha linked to the karbanos, but the totally independent mitzvah on simcha. Tosfos seems to link it to the karban. So it seems like the karbanos.
Is he saying it's not possible, or the mitzvah is to be misameach when you have a korban?
Yeah, so you see, because is it a simon or a siban? It seems to be they kind of go together, because obviously you're only going to bring a korban when you have a Beis HaMikdash. But obviously we see from the fact that you bring a korban on Yantiv that the issue is the mitzvah of simcha, and therefore in lieu of korban, when we can't reach that level, so we do a lesser form, right? But in terms of, I guess you could learn Tosfos either way, whether
either way is hard. I just want to know which way to ask.
Yeah.
If the korban causes the simcha,
right? So clearly,
then how do you do it without? How do you have a mitzvah d'rabbanan to do without?
But he's saying so therefore there is. The mitzvah d'oraisa is there, so the Chazal took the cue from the mitzvah Minatorah. Obviously, they picked this time to bring karbanos on Yantiv for a reason, to be misameach. And therefore, so even though we can't perform the mitzvah b'shleimuso, but obviously it's definitely a simon and it's a happy day, and therefore midrad baran, they're going to do everything to try to keep that simcha, even though technically speaking, we might not have that mitzvah in our Torah.
So I guess the way you'd have to say it is that you can have the simcha without the korban, but that simcha is not
correct. The simcha won't reach the
biblically commanded.
Yeah, definitely not.
But it's physically possible.
Yeah,
you can still have the same.
Absolutely, it's like
same simcha.
It's like you could have simcha any day of the week, but Yantiv they saw it as a day which is more conducive. People are away. That's why we don't on Shabbos we don't do Birkas Kohanim, but we do it on Yantiv, because there's something about Yantiv that during the Yantiv the focus is more on even Shabbos. It's like just a pause in the week. Yantiv is more the day where I'm focusing on the simcha. That's how in terms of that.
If you use that explanation, it's not so clear as to why it's not deraisa today. It's physically possible to have the simcha, so for some reason you're only commanded to do that simcha while there's a korban, even though the two aren't really connected.
No, right, because Tosfos is going to be going to there's an objective definition of, when the Torah says v'samachta, the objective definition is the karban shlomim, let's say, the karbanos. But on a personal level,
what does that mean, objective?
Karban shlomim or karban chagiga?
Karban chagiga, yeah, the karbanos of the chag, whichever, right.
Yeah, what does that mean? Is it because, again, is it because it's not, obviously it's not, the simple, what I would have thought the translation is, you can't have real simcha without a korban. It's just not physically possible. Clearly that's not the case, because otherwise you wouldn't have a mitzvah d'Rabbanan.
No.
So it is physically possible.
No, well, it depends. It's physically possible to be b'simcha, but you can't, since there's no korban, so it's not biblically mandated anymore, and therefore the Chachamim didn't want to leave a vacuum, so therefore they just said they created a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, like we have at different times, mitzvah d'Rabbanan, in the Raisa Tikkun. They took the cues, were saying how different things we're doing b'simcha.
Okay, so if you use that explanation, then it's a little bit weak though, why we don't have it bisman hazeh. It's not any war biblically mandated, completely possible, but it's not biblically. Why is it?
We can be b'simcha. I'm saying is we don't have a chiyuv simcha minator to be b'simcha every day. What Torah is focused on the chiyuv simcha, what the Torah is talking about samachta b'chera, that we don't have because of the Beis Hamikdash. But my personal chiyuv to maybe I can reach a level of simcha. Tosas is saying
no. So then it's not so clear as to why we don't have the deraisa anymore. If you use that understanding, it's physically possible.
No, because Tosas is limiting it. That is by definition. That's how the Torah defines the mitzvah of simcha and yantiv through the karbana. So by definition,
it doesn't define it. It connects.
Yeah, connects it. By definition, if you don't have the Beis Hamikdash, you don't have the karbanos. So therefore, you can't fulfill. But it's more of a technical issue. It's not really focusing on whether you can be b'simcha or not. He's saying the chiyuv is there is no chiyuv. You're not biblically mandated anymore because of the lack of the karbanos.
And how does he get that connection?
To
because it's only that the
because the Mishnah in Arvei Psachim talks about that Bisman Beis Hamikdash Kayim, we fulfilled the mitzvah through Yayin and the Basar, and Bisman Hazeh, it's only through Yayin. Everyone agrees Bisman Hazeh that the mitzvah of Simcha is through wine, and therefore you should have wine. I think during Chol Hamoed you should have wine every meal. That's that's the Machaber they bring down in Shulchan Aruch. So that the thing to me,
not possibly.
Right. Well, no. There's no chiyuv. In other words, we assume because it depends how you. It depends if you assume there's a chiyuv. But some poskim assume.
And simcha possibly.
Yeah, but that only on the Beis Hamikdash. Buster, not the buster we have.
Yeah, well, that's the machlokes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So how do you still understand? How did he come to the conclusion? If it's physically possible, how did he come to the conclusion that it's only d'Rabbanan bisman hazeh?
No, it's possible every day you get to be a b'simcha. That's not what Tosas is.
Okay.
No, Tosas.
So then why is it only
Tosas is addressing. There's no karbanan, hence there's no biblical mandate of that specific. The objective simcha. There are other ways of being simcha. I was saying halal, other things, but it's, in terms of that mitzvah, the samachta v'chagecha, the way Tosas learned, that technical mandate doesn't exist. We don't have the temple. The Rambam.
How do you know about the technical mandate? If you have an intuitive understanding that simcha is just not possible without a korban, you don't need it. But his understanding is that these are separate things. It's physically possible to have simcha. So now you have to connect. So how do you come to the conclusion?
You mean according to the Rambam?
No, I think Tosas.
Well, the Rambam it's fine. The Rambam it says that they're two separate things. So if there's no korban, it makes no difference. You still have a chiyuv d'oraisa. That's understandable. He says they're two separate issues. But according to Tosfos, he's saying that it's really the way we're understanding him is if he said it's physically not possible, I could understand him. It's physically not possible to have simcha, so therefore it's d'Rabbanan. But if you're saying it's physically possible, it has to be possible because the Rambam made the
He's saying it's physically not possible because you don't have karbanos. That's what Tosas is saying. Since we don't have the karbanos today, it's physically.
You're defining a one definition of simcha. It seems that it seems that Tosfos is saying there's an union of simcha that we call simchas yontif, that's tied to korbanos, and then there's other simchas which are not tied to korbanos, which are not this.
And would Hallel come under that?
So I just want to know, how does he
Would
understand?
Hallel come under the heading of V'sanachta b'chayecha?
No, how is a separate chiyuv? I mean, it could be that based on the mitzvah of Simcha Yantiv, that's one of the reasons of Hallel. But I'm saying we do Hallel on Hanukkah also. But it's
I
not.
don't think it's simple. I don't think it's this simple.
No, right? No, it's a totally different. The chiyuv Hallel chiyuv. It's not because it's not based on the Simcha, in terms of that. But obviously,
Where's this Rambam? Where's this Tosfos?
the Tosfos is right there. Megillah in Moed Katan, Yudal and Amud Beis. Right, on the sugya over there about Simcha Derabim and and Avelis.
Well, it's also mentioned the Gabi Avelus on Purim. Simcha Derabim versus Avelus Yochid.
Yeah, that's a big right now because that's Shailina, someone became an Onin on Purim.
That's the point. It's not simple deraisa.
Yeah, so someone became an Onin, so no Onin, so the luck is that he has to practice everything on Purim. Because the Dindra, Onin is only the Dindra abundance of Torah mitzvahs. You have the public mitzvah of Simcha and Purim beats out the private mitzvah of Aninas. So he has to have the Megillah, he has to, daven regularly. Obviously once Purim is over, then he becomes it.
It's already only Sheva Beltasser, really.
Yeah, we don't have the Dinda rights of it, and we don't have anymore. About Karbanos and all that, yeah.
So he only does public mitzvahs. Private mitzvahs, not.
Oh, no,
Privately he also does.
Yeah, we assume he has to have a din of Menonin.
Period.
Yeah.
But that Ramah in Purim doesn't mention Aninus. He only mentions the mitzvahs of Shiva.
By which
as being nidche because of the
Gemara Moed, yeah, I know that.
I'm talking about the Ramah. He doesn't mention Aninus.
Right.
He only mentions the halachas of Shiva are waived because of the Simcha of Purim, which he says is Ke'en Daraisa.
He quotes from one of the Achronim. Yeah, and after he says, right, and he says not to keep the Aninus.
No, well, he's not talking about Aninus.
I know, but then I know. Yeah, the Ramah's talking about Shiva, and then the Achronim discussed that.
So somebody else would have to talk about Aninus.
Yeah.
But you say the Tosfos is in Moed Katan Yudal on the base, and the Rambam?
The Rambam and Hilchos Yantif have to check the exact. I can get you the exact.
Hilchos Yantif.
It'll be referenced on that page.
Yeah, it should be.
It'll be referenced there. You go to Yudal.
Look up the Rambam over
the
there.
Rambam.
Yeah.
Referenced there.
You never know. It could be somewhere else.
Yeah, I'll check. I can find out. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I can find out where the Rambam is. Yeah, but it could be. It could be. It makes sense. It would be the Rambam over there. So that's what they point out.
He doesn't have a Hilchos Pesach. He only has Hilchos Chometz and Matzah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be by there. But he's not just talking about Pesach. He's talking. It's all the Yom Tovim.
No, because Pesach and Hilchos Korban Pesach is in Sefer Karbonos. It's not in Sefer Zmanim.
Right. Right. So that's what they point out. So we pointed out the Kohanim make the bracha, and so as well as we pointed out, the Gemara tells us in Ksuvis Chav Daled Amud Beis that in addition to there being a mitzvah for a kohen to bless the people, there's an isser on the zar to bless the people. If anyone who's a non-kohen, it's also for them to go up and do Birkas Kohanim. But to the Tosfos and all the Rishonim, I'm not going to ask, but there's a Gemara in Shabbos on Kuf Yud Ches Amud Aleph Rabbi Yossi said, you know what, if any of my friends would have asked me to go up to Duchen with them, I would have peer pressure, I would have went up there. And he wasn't a Kohen. So all the Mefarshim are bothered, how do we reconcile the Gemara in Shabbos, the Rabbi Yossi, a non-Kohen, was willing to go up, versus the Gemara in Ksubas, which says it's Usher. So therefore, many different Rishonim. The Tosas over there in Ksubas, he wants to make it the Ramah, the dark emotion. The Ramah makes it similar, but not the same. The Tosas they both seem to say the problem, when is there an Isser for Zar to go up? When he's alone, there's no other Kohanim. There's no Kohen in the shul, he goes up and does it. That's when it's Usher. But if he goes up with other Kohanim, that's okay. So Tosas over there seems to imply the problem is bracha levatola. The reason why if you go up alone, apparently you're making the bracha, and therefore we could go up and not make the bracha, and it's difficult because who says that's not the Birkas Kohanim? The Birkas Kohanim is actually, that's the Birkas HaMitzvah before the Birkas Yivarechecha. So that's what the Darkei Moshe writes. The problem is for a Kohen, the Isser of a Zar is to go up alone, but not necessarily because of the bracha levatola, because there's an Isser for the Zar to go up and actually do the actual text. Yivarech Hashem v'yishmerecha. So, but either way,
what's the indication that Kosev Baruch Hu is addressed to Kohanim?
It says Divrei Aaron B'Bana.
That's the,
It says Divrei Aaron B'Bana. So it says specifically tell Aaron.
It mentions Aaron there? Kosev Baruch Hu?
Yeah.
Kosev Baruch Hu is beneath.
but that gets into that's the Gemara in Sota goes
Kosev Baruch Hu
to.
doesn't mean
Talking
that.
about the Pasuk.
Well, first of all,
Right.
but we know it's not referring to the Kohanim.
No.
Kosev Baruch Hu means yours. Wait a second. Yeah.
From the Pasuk.
Oh, sorry. No,
I
yeah.
think it's in Parashah, so
No, it's by the Birkas Kohanim.
Yeah, there's two places. There's
Yeah.
Shmini,
Right.
and then there's Naso. So in Shmini, it's Aaron. They talk about Aaron blessing the people with the bracha, but in Naso is about Kosev Baruch Hu.
Right.
That's a major machlokas. Rishonim, Rashi, and the Ramban. Which is the Iker? Where do we learn out Birkas Kohanim from? The Ramban al Torah. So Rashi says we seem to learn it out from Shemini's the Iker, and we learn out from Aaron raising his hand. The Ramban says nothing doing. It's true Aaron was raising it, but it wasn't who said it was Birkas Kohanim. He says Shlomo did the same thing. The Iker Birkas Kohanim was the Naso, nothing to do. That's a major issue we'll get into is what role does the Nesias Kapayim play in Duchening? Is it an integral part, or is it just a detail? One of the many details what you have to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's Vayechi, whatever. Yeah. So that's what they point out. So the Darkei Moshe point out, and the Tosas that the Isser Zar is only to do it by yourself. The Magen Avram seems to say the issue is only in the performance. Rav Yossi was going to go up, but he wasn't going to perform the mitzvah. The Isser Zar is to actually go ahead and perform and do the duchening. The famous answer to the Bach, which gets into the whole Nesias Kapayim question, is he says the only Isser is if you go up and do it with Nesias Kapayim. But if your Zar goes up and doesn't, according to the Bach, it wouldn't make a difference whether you go up alone, you go up with other Kohanim, as long as you don't put up your hands during the duchening, so therefore there's no problem, because according to the Bach,
Where did you get that from?
according to the Bach, we'll get, because the Gemara in Sota, Samaches, or 38, 39, over the Gemara goes through all the different limudim. The Gemara says you have to raise your hands. It has to be like show. The Gemara to do. It's funny. Gemara, everything from Kol Savarcho. The Gemara quotes the same pasuk and goes through like 6 or 7. And one of the limits, the Gemara deduces from the psukim that you have to that the Nesias Kapayim is rikuva, or whether it's rikuva now we don't. The Gemara doesn't spell it, but there is this. So the Bachas seem to learn it is. It's not Birkas Kohanim without the Nesias going like the Rashba writes. There's a Gemara talks about also Kol Sivarchu. That's it. You can't just what these brachas. You can't add brachas. And if you add another bracha, so therefore it's Baal Tosef. So the question people ask is, a lot of times when the Kohen comes down and you say Yasher Kochach, and he says, what does he say back to you? Like another bracha he gives you. So, yeah, Baruch Tiyah. Isn't he in violation about how is he giving another bracha? So according to the Rashba, there's no problem because he's not doing the Siyas Kapayim. The whole din, if you're not doing the Siyas Kapayim, it's not Birkas Kohanim. That's the answer of all the kasha. How do you bless your kids Friday night? That's the famous Maisa with the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon at the wedding of the Noda B'Yehuda, he blessed the Noda B'Yehuda, and apparently only put one hand on top of his head. So the Aruch HaShulchan writes, the reason is because he felt the Isser of a Zar to do Birkas Kohanim is the Siyas Kapayim, both hands, but one hand apparently isn't. So it's a big discussion in terms of what role we'll come back to the Siyas Kapayim plays. But then others point, that's what the box says. Rav Yossi would have went up and he went and did. That's why I guess the fundamental question is: do you call it Birkas Kohanim, or do you call it the Siyas Kapayim? What's the Iker? Is the Iker the bracha? Is the Iker the Siyas Kapayim? But we'll get
was it the chasna or the bar mitzvah?
I heard it was the chasna. I think I'll check. The Aruch HaShulchan brings it down. I'm not 100%, but I vaguely remember the chasna, but you could be right.
They're more likely to be done at the bar mitzvah.
Yes, you could be right that it was a simcha. So the Aruch HaShulchan brings it down that he gave him. So they give different answers why it was okay. So others point out that as long as you don't have kavana, the kafachaya mitzvah strichas kavana. So if you don't have kavana to fulfill Birkas, you could actually even go up and do it and not have the kavana. That's what maybe Rabbi Yossi meant. And it's a famous answer from the Haflah, the Sefer HaMachneh. He says that it's just the opposite of the Bali Tosis and the Darchei Moshe. The Isser is only when, if there's no Kohanim, you can go up. The whole Isser of going up is when other Kohanim are there. Because why? Because there's a mitzvah to get blessed. That's the Chiddush. It's not only, it's the Sefer, he's known for it, the Charedim, Rav Eliyachi, Eliyahu Mizrahi, even though other Rishonim, the Ravid, there are others who say it, but the Haflah who was working with this Shita and the Rishonim, then in addition for the mitzvah on the Kohen to bless the people, there's a mitzvah on the non-Kohanim to be blessed. So he says you'll be in violation upon him, which is the whole discussion, the Gemara in Sot as well, because the Gemara, the Rishonim talk about what if you only have a shul with 10 Kohanim, that's the minyan. I guess no Viera Kohanim. What did they do? So the luck is all 10 go up in Duchen. Who they duchening to? Panim el panim. That's what the Gemara says. The Am Shabisados, that the people who are honest, they couldn't make it to work. They couldn't make it to shul. They made it to work. So therefore, the blessing is going on everyone. That's why it's a major shayla the Achronim. If you have a shul set up with a Kohanim are in front, and there are people behind them, like on the east, right by that. So do they have to move? So some want to say that, yeah, you're lacking panim al panim and you're not included in the bracha. And others say that no, you're no worse than the Am Shabisados. If they're included, the people already in shul are included, you're an honest. Your seat happened, there's no more room, your seat happens to be, on that end, and therefore, so that's the discussion. Halach l'maisi. So obviously, if you can, it can't hurt to move in front. So therefore, you cover all shitas. But that's so the Haflah has a big chiddush. He says the whole. You know why it's usher for a zar? It's only because he's missing out on Birkas Kohanim. But of course, to bless your kid Friday night, to bless out the question doesn't even begin. What's there to talk about it? It's not a problem of doing reading the words.
That's an answer, Rabbi Yossi.
No, he's saying no. He's saying Rav Yossi would have went up when there was no Kohanim in shul, and that's how he explains. And therefore, the only problem is missing out on Birkas Kohanim. It's not the actual saying of the words itself, and therefore that's how the Haflah writes that's why that's how he explains Rav Yossi. That's how he explains the minhag ha'olam of everyone giving people brachas, because no one, they're either like the hafla that they're not missing out on Birkas Kohanim, or according to the Bach, you're not having the Tiyas Kapayim, or different answers along those lines.
Al kiso lo yeshev zav. Because that means something quite different, but there's some sort of al kiso lo yeshev zav. It means on whose kisei?
Yeah, the other question. Yeah.
Explain why don't look at the hands.
Explain what?
Why we don't look at the hands.
Oh yeah, okay. Yes, that we'll get into. But the reason why it's a Gemara, everyone's taught as a little kid that you don't look, and I think they don't say you're going to go blind and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, it's this famous joke. I mean, Yiddish folklore has a very strong kasha. The Jewish folklore, they say, because I guess they're assuming you're going to go blind, so they say the first time you look at the Kohen, you go blind in one eye. The second time you look at the Kohen, you go blind in the second eye. The kasha asks, what happens if you look at third time? What happens? But either way, so that's the Gemara in Sota about the real Bisman Beis Hamikdash Kayam. The reason why you can look, because it's the Shechina, the Shora, that on the fingers, and therefore we don't look at the Shechina. But Bisman Hazeh, we don't have that. So it's Tosfos goes to Yerushalmi. It seems to be for a different reason, a distraction. So that's what some point out from here. That what do you mean there's a distraction? So I want to bring a raya to distraction to who? To the Kohanim? No, distraction to the people. A raya like the Ureya, like those Rishonim that say there is a mitzvah. I'm part of the mitzvah also. So that's why some point out there's different minhagim on Kohanim, that the talus over the head is that they should be distracted. The talus over the hands is the people should be distracted. And therefore someone to bring a raya that's part of the bit. But Bisman Beis Hamikdash Kayim because the Shechina was Shoreh. But today the Yerushalmi writes because of Bavli doesn't say anything. The Yerushalmi writes because of distraction. We'll get into that's a discussion whether someone can, maybe there still is Shechina. Maybe we don't look today. It's kind of like a Zeichel Mikdash, but we could continue on that, yeah.